Extend your life with Extendovite.
When your doctor tells you you have bad cholesterol or blockages in the arteries, what do? When diet and exercise is not enough, we try medications and hope for the best. For the last 2 decades, I have been telling people about a natural method to help solve these problems and more. Extendovite can help maintain cardiovascular health and lower blood lipid levels in adults. The 7 herbs in Extendovite are known to work together synergistically to get the results we hope for. There are many testimonials on Extendovite's effect on circulatory related ailments. Get Extendovite today to start your journey back to a healthier life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or see us on amazon.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Wednesday, June 19th, 2019, hump day, middle of the weekday, starting that long, slow glide down to Powhatan Friday and whatever adventures await us over the coming weekend. So we've got a lot to talk about. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. That's 800-313-9443. Sam is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and observations. Before we get on into it, because it's just more of the same, Iran. I was watching this little story here on Fox News where apparently there was this baseball game for 7-year-olds. It's a kid's game. Whether it was Little League or the school, or I didn't catch that part of it. But apparently the umpire, who was 13, made a call that some of the parents didn't agree with, and apparently the parents got onto a major brawl on the ball field. And I mean, it is only a game, and it's supposed to be fun. You're not supposed to be, heading to the hospital after it's all over. But I think it shows how close the American people are to allowing their frustrations and their rages to surface. Now, probably the people who are out there fighting on this baseball diamond were doing that because they don't dare stand up against what they see as the real cause of the problems in their lives, which is, of course, large corporations and the government and the military. So they take it out on somebody else around them. And it's human nature to do that. Probably accounts for a lot of the road rage that we see, or domestic violence that we see, or bar fights. And of course, we don't know how many of those parents were on prescription antidepressants. So, but it's not a very pretty picture of the United States. It really isn't. All right, getting on over to Iran. Mike Pompeo and a top U.S. official have set a condition that will trigger military action against Iran. And basically it says that the death of a single U.S. service member would trigger a military response. And I presume that means not just in Iran, but in Syria as well. So that's the line in the sand that they've drawn. The death of one single service member, there'll be a military response. And I hate being right all the time, but just before airtime, a story came out where the United Nations is confirming that the United States is planning an attack on one of Iran's nuclear facilities. So they're going to bust up this nuclear facility and just spread radioactivity all over the area, leading to cancer and leukemia and birth defects. And they think that this is all just hunky-dory. I mean, we've got enough radioactivity in the air between the big bomb tests in the South Pacific, between 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, Fukushima. We don't need more radioactivity poured into the atmosphere because eventually it gets back to us. It doesn't just stay there in Iran. It's going to blow across the entire Middle East. It'll eventually get here. We were watching how that was happening with Fukushima, how it was in the air and in the water. So the shadow of war is cast over the Persian Gulf, and having already wrecked Iraq over the past decade, the U.S. now appears ready to do the same to Iran. And the escalation of events recently is alarming, but a military invasion of Iran will not end the same way as it did in Iraq. Now, Iraq itself as a country was never really subdued. The U.S. plunked down that green zone in that embassy and said, we are victorious. But they were never in control of the rest of the country. And the U.S. and British-led war of aggression did succeed in killing more than 1 million people. It ignited a sectarian civil war, which has torn the country apart for years, as well as giving rise to ISIS, the so-called Islamic State. Now, the government of Iran is not going to fall in the same easy manner that Saddam's did in 2003. It's much tougher terrain. It's a much better prepared military. They're a much better supplied military. And it's going to be tough. And it's for that reason that we're hearing more and more that there is not likely to be a ground invasion, force on force into Iran, that the U.S. strategy is going to be just to continue to bomb important things in Iran until Iran's government agrees to step down. Now, whether that will mean the other nuclear facilities, whether it will mean hospitals, whether it will mean Tehran itself, the airport, even the governmental buildings and the residences of the leaders of Iran, we don't know, but that seems to be what the U.S. is offering, because I guess they understand, and this is probably what Pompeo brought back from CENTCOM. It's very unlikely we could be victorious in a ground war against Iran. It would turn into another quagmire, stall to a halt like Syria. So we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. Now, National Security Advisor John Bolton has said the United States is willing to talk to Iranian leaders to ease tensions, but it has also said for retaliatory actions against Iranian military provocations, of which there has been precisely none. Just all these false flags. So basically, Bolton was being interviewed by the Washington Free Beacon, saying that intelligence reports over the past month warned of covert attacks in the Middle East and South Asia by Iranian proxies, including the Quds Force, Iranian intelligence operatives, and other Tehran surrogates. So they're not even saying Tehran's doing this. They're saying people that work for Iran. And we don't know who they are, but we're sure they're out there and they're working for Iran, and therefore Iran is responsible for everything that they do. Now, Trump is getting ready to bypass Congress to take on Iran. And apparently the theory is that they're going to use the 2003 authorization for the use of military force to allow the president to simply send in the military forces. There is one problem. This morning I hunted down that authorization document and read it. It specifically says Iraq, even though it has been used to justify attacks on other countries. By the letter of the law, that authorization for the use of force specifies Iraq. It doesn't say anything about Iran. Alrighty. But that's going to be their argument here. And from this, I would say that probably the reason they're talking about using that authorization is they're getting a sense that Congress may not really be hot to go into another war, especially as we come into another election season. The wars have become bad politics. And anybody who's seen as supporting the wars, or to be more blunt, not opposing them, is going to face some problems at the ballot box, I think, here. But if you really think about it, the U.S. government has gotten itself into a very bizarre situation because Iran has announced they're going to violate the terms of the P5+1 by enlarging their stockpile of enriched uranium. And the United States is coming on back and saying, no, you won't do that. So if you think about it, the U.S. is now demanding that Iran abide by a deal that the U.S. itself already reneged on by pulling out of the agreement and slapping sanctions. So it's basically a way of saying, you guys have to play by the rules we made up, but we don't have to. That's basically what they're saying. Now, here is an interesting little story. This came out of Defense News. Air Force General Paul Selva, the Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, told reporters at a round table that countries that benefit most from the movement of oil through the Gulf need to take a more active role in its security, and that they shouldn't depend on the United States to secure the Arabian Gulf shipping alone. Well, at first read, it sounds reasonable. Why are we spending all of our money so that all these other countries can get their oil? But there is another possibility, because we've been hearing this more and more from within the military establishment. Hey, we're here for your good. You got to pay for more of it. It may be a signal that, yes, indeed, the U.S. military is running out of resources. And they're looking to have these other countries step on up with a few more hulls, a few more wings, a lot more soldiers, fuel, weapons, who knows. All righty. But that's what's coming on out there, that the Middle East should not expect the U.S. to secure Arabian shipping traffic all by itself. Over in Syria, yesterday, the joint forces of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham and Turkish-backed militant groups launched an assault on several positions of the Syrian Arab Army in northern Hama. It didn't really work out all that well. The so-called moderate opposition reportedly used at least 2 suicide vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices. One exploded near Syrian Arab Army positions in Jalama. The other one was eliminated in the nearby area. Clashes were reported near Sheikh Hadid, Quirata, and Jub Suleiman. So apparently, by early today, the militant attack had been fully repelled by the Syrian Arab Army. Despite this, pro-militant media outlets claim all their devices worked as intended, and Assad regime forces had suffered tons of casualties. Of course, everybody lies in war. Now, here is an interesting story. This is from antiwar.com. As you know, the United States has been negotiating with the Taliban to basically end that 18-year-old war. And Taliban spokesman Suhail Shaheen is saying the deal is already effectively made. And basically they're saying the U.S. has pledged to accept a full military withdrawal from Afghanistan, and furthermore to never again interfere in Afghan affairs. Translation: we lost. Just like Britain did, just like the Soviet Union did. Now, the American negotiators are saying, no, wait a minute, we haven't signed anything just yet. There's still a few more details to work out about how Afghanistan is going to admit that the United States was victorious. And if that sounds familiar, it's because it's from the beginning of the movie The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, when you've got this European and Middle Eastern army, and they're at war with each other, and the British negotiators talking to the Sultan and saying, it's time for us to negotiate when you will surrender. And the Sultan says, why would we surrender? We're winning. And the British negotiator says, that's just a minor detail, really. All right, we're going to grab ourselves a phone call from Jim in Illinois. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. To be real quick, regarding the acting Secretary of Defense stepping down, first of all, it does not take 6 months to get a police report. So that's a bunch of BS. Second of all, he was not going to be confirmed because he's the one that used his position, because he used to work for Boeing, to persuade the FAA and the Secretary of Transportation to keep the 737s flying. And the reason they stopped flying them on April 7th because the airline pilots were going to have a slow down or walk off the jobs because they did not want to fly that airplane.
Yes.
So, again, it would have been an embarrassment against the Trump administration to try and confirm someone, and he's going to be voted down by a lot of Republicans because he put money in front of the people's safety when he called the FAA.
Yeah, after a while of watching all this stuff, you get the impression they're all crooked. It's all swamp. And maybe
Right.
Trump just went in and said, okay, well, there aren't any really good people in here, so I'll just get the best of the slime. And anyway, Shanahan hasn't stepped down as acting Secretary of Defense. He is simply withdrawing his nomination to become the permanent one.
What's the difference?
Well, he's still got the job until they
okay.
actually do find somebody.
Right. Well, don't you think it's kind of strange that they did not know about his domestic problems beforehand? Because he's been on the job since January 1st.
They probably knew and figured it wasn't going to be an issue until one of his political enemies makes it an issue. I mean, there's a lot of dirt floating around Washington, D.C. on a lot of people, and the gentleman's understanding is, I won't talk about yours if you don't talk about mine, until they get into opposition in a particular campaign or a particular issue, and then the stuff is brought out as a weapon.
Right. Well, do you think he would have been confirmed?
I really don't know, but I think the issue is it would have damaged his chances for confirmation more than anything else.
Right. Okay. Well, Michael, you take care.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. And we're going to switch over to Mark in North Carolina. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
How you doing, Mike? Mike, the reason I'm calling is yesterday, after I talked to you about John Kerry and all that, and trying to get the Iran deal that they made, an individual, I believe his name was Joe from New Jersey, called back and called Kerry a traitor and this and that. I guess he was referring probably to me as a traitor too for supporting him. I don't support Kerry. I don't particularly like the guy, but in this case, I think he did a good job. Secretary of State, unlike the fat clown that's the Secretary of State now, the psycho clown there, Pompeo. But the thing is this: you want to know what a traitor is? A traitor is somebody who colludes with a foreign country. And I'm not talking about Russia in this case. I'm talking about Netanyahu in Israel, who basically runs our, Middle East foreign policy to a degree. The Saudis do too, but especially the Israelis. You want to talk about treason? Then Trump is the one who's involved in treason. Trump, Pompeo, the psychopath Bolton, Kushner, obviously Kushner, the whole bunch of them. They're involved in. If you want to talk about treason, they're involved with treason. Now, I'm praying that if Trump attacks Iran now, if he really goes through with this, that the Congress finally finds a backbone and then brings articles of impeachment on that. Not for the silly Russian conspiracy theory. That's ridiculous. This would be going out of the way. This would be going against the Constitution, and this would demand to me impeachment. Plain and simple. no ifs, ands, or buts. You can't say you're relying on 9/11. That's some kind of nonsense to say because some kind of a resolution was made after 9/11. What is it? The dancing Iranians? Were they the ones across the river there? Giving high fives and jumping around. Who had obviously been there before the planes actually hit. Do you think? Were those dancing Iranians?
According to witnesses, yes, those Israelis showed up there with their camera before the first plane impact.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought they were dancing Iranians, Mike, or dancing Persians. Okay.
No.
I'm glad you corrected.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm being facetious, right? But the thing is, that's the whole thing. So that's
okay.
so
Mark.
I wanted to give
Mark.
a call back. I'm gladly. Hello.
Mark, I got to put you on hold. We got to take a break for commercials. Don't hang up. We'll come right back to you after these few words.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Mark in North Carolina. And it is obvious in this day and age that countries really don't respect the sovereignty of other countries, and that whenever possible, they will infiltrate to try and influence that government in their favor. And by the way, there's nothing new with that. It goes back to the Middle Ages. But it is very infuriating to see it fully on display, the extent to which Israel is manipulating our government to start wars which the American people will have to pay for, and American young people will be killed and crippled in.
Absolutely, Bob, Mike, and it was done in Iraq. Especially that clown Netanyahu. He has way too much. People look at him as if he's some kind of an American patriot, let alone an Israeli patriot. He was behind. He advised also on Iraq, and he's been just about begging for war in Iran. It's my opinion, and I look at it like this. I have some experience in law enforcement and corrections, and I know a little bit about laws of evidence. There's something called MOHAB, the motive, opportunity, and ability.
Yes.
All of those Israel had, every inch of it. They had motive, they had opportunity, and they certainly have the ability to carry out something out like that.
Yes.
Right? That's my opinion. Did it? Possibly our own people did it too. It's possible, but I do believe
I think they
Israel.
were working together. I think they were working together. And the reason I think that is that when Bush was down there in that school in Sarasota, Florida, reading about pet goats, and the word came on in that a second plane had hit the second tower. At that point, everybody should have known it was a terror attack, but the Secret Service just let him sit there reading about pet goats until it was time for him to go on camera, which tells us they knew what was happening that day. They knew that Bush was not a target, which means they knew what the targets were going to be.
Well, I'm talking about I'm not even talking about that. I do believe there was the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Israel involved in it together. But as far as I'm talking about the attack on those so-called tankers, I believe that was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, motive, opportunity, and ability to carry that out.
Yep.
And they want war so badly. They don't want to go to war with Iran by themselves because they know they get their butts kicked. All right? But they want the good old USA to do it for them. They probably wouldn't even join in. Okay? The Saudis, the same thing. They want good old USA to go and, I don't know how many troops would be killed, how many of our troops, how many Iranians would be murdered in this thing. And again, like I said yesterday, it probably would entail a draft, almost surely entail a draft. We won't get away with just bombing because we hit their nuclear plant of theirs, they will respond by closing down the Strait of Hormuz. And it'll necessitate an invasion of Iran, and that will be a bloody mess. And it probably would entail a draft, almost surely entail a draft, and that would have all kinds of problems in the United States. You talk about riots.
Yep.
It would make the 60s look tame. Okay, burning a draft card, going, refusing to go in. Once in, you would have you would have mutinies as you had during the Vietnam, except I think it would be worse this time. People are wise to this, Mike. Young people are wise to this today. They don't get their news from the fake news networks. They get it from the internet. Even with the internet trying to confuse everybody, you can still find a news video, including in YouTube. I ignore what they say, what they recommend. Who cares what they recommend? I know what I'm looking for when I go on there. Okay, I look for people like you. I look for people like Ryan Dawson. I look for people like No More News. With the Adam Green. Yep. I look for people like the Last American Vagabond with what's his name, Ryan Christian. I look for fault lines, off of Sputnik TV, fault lines with Stranahan and Nixon. Okay, this is the kind of stuff, and I look, like I said, I look for you. I don't look for what they recommend. I don't look for the crap news network. I don't look for the fake news network or the fake neocon news network as Fox, and I don't look like the nothing but crap news network. Okay, I know what I'm looking for, and I think most people do, even when they try to mess things around. I still go to InfoWars. I know how to find InfoWars, obviously, Infowars.com. Even though sometimes Jones pisses me off, I know there's still basically they're not mainstream news. They're definitely independent in most sections. So I know where to go, and I think most people do, especially younger people. And I'm not a younger person. Me and you are about the same age. Okay, we're the same age.
You have my deepest sympathies.
Yeah. But the people called up to fight, either drafted or to volunteer, they're the ones that almost the majority get their news from the right sources. From different places around the net. Jimmy Dore, there's another guy, both left and right, and in the middle. That's who's got the real news today. You don't find it in the mainstream. That's the corporate media. It's another good word for that. RT, I forgot about RT. I never thought years ago that I would get more real news from Russian media than from our own.
Yeah, same with me. Anyway, Mark, I got to let you go. We got to take another break for commercials. We've got more callers waiting on the line, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And aloha, Mirko. Welcome back to our show here. And we're going to go back to the phones to Fred in Iowa. Aloha, Fred. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. Oh, wow. Mark in North Carolina, he is, in my opinion, spot on, and he covered a lot of ground, a whole mouthful.
Yes, he did.
And you with started the show the same. You didn't use our foreign policy. But what we're doing with all these wars and killing these women and children, that's why all these people are crossing our borders to come into our country and all the European countries and all that. Now, number 2 terrorist state is Israel. And I dislike the nation of Israel, but I do not dislike Jews, individual Jews.
Yes.
The number 1 terrorist state in the world is United States, our government. But that doesn't mean I hate all Americans. I most certainly don't. But they're, as Mark said, you know, so many of them get their information off the idiot box, and they join up and then the military to go over and kill all those women and children. And a lot of them just don't give a damn or don't care. But it's even from their grandfathers. And I'm 82. Well, I'll be in July. I'll be in 82. You know, so yeah, join the military. Okay, I've yapped on enough. You're doing a hell of a job. Keep it up. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the kind words. We're going to switch over to Terry in California. Aloha, Terry. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, have you heard about the bill that Tulsi Gabbard introduced about no presidential wars, where if he bypasses the Congress and goes to war, then that's an impeachable offense? Have you heard about that?
I hadn't heard that she'd done that, but I'm certainly in agreement with it. Under the Constitution, only Congress has the authority to take this nation to war. And unfortunately, back in 2003, they shirked their responsibility of oversight with this authorization for the use of military force for Bush to go into Iraq. But again, it explicitly says Iraq and has no bearing on other countries like, well, for example, Iran. But apparently Congress doesn't want to be involved in that decision-making process because they don't want it to come back and haunt them during election season. So, you know, I know the war in Iran is wrong, but I had nothing to say about it. This was the president's gesture.
That was exactly the point I was going to make. You know, she, I think, introduced the bill already, and they're probably going to sit on it because they don't want to stick their neck out and vote on that right now. They want him to do his thing, and, you know, they'll be innocent whichever way it goes. So, and anyway, my grandson is in the California National Guard, and he just got back from the Middle East, and he got activated. So this morning they called him again and said, we need some more. He's a combat medic. We're building up for another offensive, and they wanted to know if he wanted to volunteer again. And his 7 years is almost over, and he was going to get out, but they might freeze him. But they did call him because they're calling people to see if they want to be activated, you know, before they clamp down on the whole unit. Anyway, Mike, yesterday, Layla said that Putin was intimidated by the Jewish lobby or the Jewish cabal around the world.
Well, that's her theory.
Yeah, I'm saying if he's intimidated, then Trump is definitely, and I think Trump's a conflict of interest anyway, because of his relationship with them in the beginning before he even ran for president. You know, so, you know, he definitely is. You know, whatever Bibi wants, Bibi gets.
Absolutely.
And if Bibi wants to strike up Iran, and if they do a big airstrike, like I have a friend of mine that's Iranian, and I texted him this morning saying, you know, your family's over there, and they probably are a little bit on edge because of what's going on. And he texted me back, say the whole country has been preparing for this for the last 10 years. And so they know it's coming, and we gave them plenty of time to prepare. So they probably have a bunch of S-400 missiles in there too, don't they, Mike?
I would imagine by now that they do, and in any event, Russia has already indicated if the U.S. intrudes into Iran, Russia will step on in and supply Iran with however many weapons they need.
Well, if they haven't done it now, they better get it done, because there's going to be an airstrike, and after that's over, it's a little bit late, But anyway, that's all I had today. I appreciate talking to you. Take care.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. Phone lines are open here. Over in Yemen, specifically Hodeidah, a U.S. MQ-9 drone got shot down, and it's provoked anger among the people of Yemen, who say it is clear evidence of direct U.S. involvement in a war which has resulted in the world's worst humanitarian crisis, according to the United Nations, and has left almost 25 million people in need of aid. So, Lieutenant Colonel Earl Brown, spokesman for CENTCOM, said in a statement confirming basically that Houthi fighters shot down a U.S. government MQ-9 Reaper drone using an SA-6 surface-to-air missile, adding that the altitude at which the drone was shot down indicated an improvement over previous Houthi capability, which is polite speak for we didn't think that rocket could reach that high. So you have this ongoing horror in Yemen of children being blown to smithereens, courtesy of U.S. mid-air refueling and guidance and drone strikes. And I think it's time to start challenging our fellow Americans and say, how comfortable are you with this? With blowing up civilians, including children, in places like Yemen, who has not attacked us, in places like Syria, who have not attacked us, in places like Iraq, who, as it turned out, didn't have nuclear weapons. How comfortable are you with this? And especially if they have kids approaching military age, they need to realize at some point a draft will be reactivated. The kids are already being required to register for it. They're already having to fill out the form and get the card. So the draft could be activated with virtually 24 hours notice. They'll get out that big fishbowl and they'll put in all those capsules and they'll start pulling out the birth dates. Okay. Still out of control cholera there in Yemen here. So, again, more lies. The U.S. military will never assist in the assassination of the innocent. Of course not. We do it all the time. The U.S. military will not assist other governments in winning a war against its enemies when only true, honorable, and hard-won negotiations can resolve the issue. Nope. We are all citizens of a war crime-centric government, and I know it's frustrating. There doesn't seem to be anything that we can do about it except wait for a collapse or for the U.S. to lose one, which it looks like they've done in Afghanistan and are trying hard to pretend they didn't do in Syria. But if the U.S. were to go into Iran and get its nose bloodied, it might bring an end to this whole war fever. So, anyway, Great Britain is out there taking pride in their part of the Yemen war. They supply the bombs that fall on Yemen. It provides personnel and expertise. And the Brits are saying the Saudis couldn't do it without us. but they may be, in fact, breaking international law. All right, we're going to take another phone call here. Danny in the District of Columbia, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
You know, other than you accepting every word that Layla says is true, you know, I'd like to ask you, you have said probably 100 times that we're going to suffer a Soviet-style collapse. Don't you really mean a Jewish-style collapse? I mean, can't we be a little bit more precise instead of, you know, changing the words, you know, just to kind of thwart the truth of just a little bit? I mean, don't you think you can be a little more direct on understanding who is in control of the United States right now, as in who was in control of the Soviet Union? I mean, can't we just really talk, you know, and say the truth instead of beating around the bush, you know, like scared little rodents?
I'm not beating around the bush here, okay? Because obviously what happened in the Soviet Union was a breakdown in control, and Chernobyl didn't help. The bankruptcy caused by overspending into the military in response to SDI didn't help.
And the people were aliens amongst them, just like they are here in this country. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go and switch over to Peter in Los Angeles. Aloha, Peter. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I believe it was either Terry or Mark mentioned that Putin was controlled by the Israelis or by actually international Jewish interests. But, you know, to a large extent, when he sort of didn't actually take over their central bank, he sort of neutered it.
Yes.
But he also, almost all those Russian oligarchs are almost all Jewish. And he has had an issue with those guys for a long time. So he has, by the way, has a big Jewish population, of course, that has their own dual loyalty with Israel. But he's got it more under control than certainly than Trump does. And but nevertheless, he has to be very wary of what's going on, both with his internal population and the oligarchs who are almost universally Jewish. But at any rate, I also want to point out that today, I may have sent this to you. I think I did, about which kind of alarmed me. It turns out that Trump has approved sale of our latest tanker, high-performance airborne tanker, that apparently we just rolled out for our own forces a couple of months back, and of course Israel's going to get it for half price or free or something. But nevertheless, that's always been something that we've been able to restrain them with, right? They didn't have a big-time tanking capability to perform major airstrikes in somewhere as far away as Iran. But if they're upgrading those, and depending on the delivery schedule and so on, that means that's just another way that they can get us into another war. Because, you know, if they were to attack Iran, you know, the fifth column in the Israeli lobby would immediately, and our Congress would immediately get us to follow suit. And that was alarming to me that Trump went and did that. I'm not surprised, but it's just another warning signal.
It is another warning signal, and basically it's, again, Israel is supposedly paying for these refueling aircraft, but they're using money that was given to them by the American people. So for all intents and purposes, they got these aircraft for free.
Yeah, and by the way, on one of the sites that I know you've referenced here before, but I can't remember exactly which one it was. Maybe it's If America Knew or something. They made the point that the Israeli defense budget, that the bigger percentage of the Israeli defense budget is covered by American taxpayer money than it is by Israeli taxpayer money.
Yes.
So all this military capability that they espouse all the time is sort of ephemeral, Mike. Because if we're doing over half, we'll figure half of take away half their capability and more, actually, if we were to withdraw it. And all at once, they're very, very average, except for their nuclear weapons, which I'm glad to see people are now talking about.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, Israel parasitizes off the rest of the world. They bring it all in, pile it all up, and then stand on top of it and say, look how mighty we are.
Yeah. And the biggest weakness they have anymore is they have if the Israeli military can't take you on with standoff weapons, be it missiles or rockets or artillery or airstrikes, stand off, right?
Yeah.
The Israeli infantry will not close with the enemy. They couldn't advance 5,000 meters from their border against Hezbollah. 5,000 meters. That's not even like 3 miles. And they just wouldn't, they can't take the casualties. Their people are used to kicking down doors and humiliating Palestinian grandmothers and women and stuff and adolescent stone throwers. They will not close. And so they can no longer go in and actually take and hold land.
Well, they didn't do too well in that last Lebanon war.
Yeah, but think about how the utility they would be if they get us into war with Iran. Of course, it will be to the last American, but even if they join us, they're not going to be worth much. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, Israel loves to get other people to fight their wars for them. And maybe that's because the few times that they've gone into their own wars, it hasn't always worked out all that well. So anyway, thanks for the phone call. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are open. And we're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show today. We're going to go back to the phones to Layla in Canada. Aloha, Layla. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Mike. That's what I wanted to say for cutting off Dan, who sometimes identifies as Dan from Washington and this time Dan from D.C. He was the very first time when you interviewed me, because one of your callers had asked to know a little more about me. I remember he called in and started spouting genealogy from the Old Testament, and you cut him off recognizing he was trying to discredit me. And again, I hadn't even called in today, and he's calling in to say, you take my word for things without evidence. Actually, that's the opposite of what I do. That's why my calls are so much longer, because I'm presenting evidence that can be verified by your listeners. So thank you for recognizing what he was doing and cutting him off. I very much appreciate that. There is, however, one other thing I want to interject, if I may.
Sure.
And that is the loss of the identity, the recognition of the Arameans. And I'm not talking Armenian, I'm talking about Arameans, A-R-A-M-A-I-N, from which the Aramaic language came.
Yes.
Those are the people that were so plentiful in biblical times. For example, Abraham was actually an Aramean. And Jacob, who wanted to find a wife, was sent to Padan Aram, which was in present-day Syria. And he was tricked into marrying one daughter and had to work another 7 years to marry the daughter he really wanted, those women being Rebecca and Leah. So the Arameans were wiped out by the Assyrians and then absorbed by the Assyrians, those that remained, and others have gone into a diaspora.
Okay.
But it's their history that a lot of the Jewish or the today's Israeli Zionists are using. It's cultural appropriation as well as identity theft. And I believe that my ancestry is largely Aramaic. And of course, that too was wiped out when the Arabs occupied so much of the Middle East and people became Arabic. It's kind of like English.
Yes.
People around the world speak English. They're not going to identify as ethnic English. But who knows? In 2,000 years, they might call themselves ethnic English. But that's what happens over centuries and thousands of years. And that's why I keep referring back to specifics, that people can do their own research and verify whether what I say is true or false. So once again, thank you for recognizing what Dan or Danny or whatever was trying to do.
Okay, well, thank you very much here. And just for the record, I don't always agree with what you're saying. But obviously, we have differing opinions about certain things.
Obviously, I wouldn't, no two people, even those who are perhaps harmoniously married, are going to agree on everything. Less yet, two people who don't even know each other personally, other than having telephone conversations. I would not expect you to agree with everything I say, and I don't expect your listeners to agree with everything I say. But what I have done...
Layla, I'm sorry, we got to let you go. We got to take a station identification break. Back with more phone calls after these few words.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we're going to start by talking to Mo in Florida. Aloha. Mo, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Michael. Thank you for everything, really. You've got a great show, and you tell it like it is. I just, like everybody that calls in, I really feel like we're living in parallel universes or something. Everybody knows that this Iran thing is insane. It makes no sense. It's an Israel, one of Israel's, enemies that we're supposed to go, like you say, throw the babies on the bayonets. I live in Florida, and I know Cotton's from Arkansas. But these senators and the ones in Florida, Rubio and, our governor, what is going on here, Michael? I watched the rally, and I haven't watched Trump since. I'm like you. I voted for him, hoping his rhetoric would he would stay true, what he said, but he's a total Zionist sellout. I mean, and in that rally in Orlando, I mean, those people are going crazy. He raised, $24 million?
Yep.
And everything's wonderful. Not one sign. They yelled, shut down, CNN sucks and whatever. Not one sign that said, America first, not Israel first. Not one sign. I mean, what is going on here, Michael? If it wasn't for you, you and a few other people, Ron Paul, I put you right up there with them.
Thank you.
I don't get it. How is it possible that this stuff is so evident? What's going on here? That you see this Netanyahu just laughing, and they got the Golan Heights with Trump Heights, and it's all a big joke. The Jewish people I know, the Jewish family, they don't want this. They know, they don't believe in the temple and the Moshiach and all this. They don't want this. We are pushing buttons for, like you say, and you're 100% right. I mean, I don't know where Russia is. I don't know where Putin is. I'm sorry, I don't mean to ramble on, but I just, to me, we're playing with nuclear war here, and these people are rallying for Trump, and he's controlled by Sheldon Adelson, and these senators. What I don't get, Mike, and I'll shut up. I want your response. But how can they? They're so blatant. It must be like. I don't know. How can they do this after all these wars? Everything you said since the Maine or the Lusitania or the Gulf of Tonkin, everybody knows. They got the internet. All they got to do is look it up. They're all false flags.
Yes.
Even if this wasn't a false flag in Iran, they set it up to be a false flag. This is what they want. This Senator Cotton, he's eager to shoot first and ask questions later. I mean, these people are crazy, Mike. I mean, what? Is this a parallel universe? What's going on here?
Well, I mean, you've got this cabal that wants war, and they are now in control of the U.S. war machine, which means they're in control of you, because the government's authority over the people resides in its war powers. So basically, they're taking the attitude, we're in charge. We know that we need to have another war on Iran, so let's just move forward with it. And to keep the American people comfortable, we're going to put on this theater presentation called the Trump Rally, where he's obviously well loved by the population. Then we're going to put on this other theater presentation called Iran Has Attacked Us, and then we'll just move forward from there.
Yeah, I guess, but everybody has the internet, so they're just so brainwashed they can't look for the truth. They don't they realize that there's going to be this Iran is no Iraq, you know, and whether Putin backs them up or whatever, this will be worse than Vietnam ever was. I mean,
Yes.
we could nuke the whole country, and that would not be the end of it. So what's the end game here? They're not going to intimidate Iran to back down. There's no way. I think the sentiment worldwide is that the Americans are the aggressors
Yes.
or the evil empire.
Yes.
Not me and you, not the good American people, just like not the good Jewish people. You know, but the good Jews and the Christians got to wake up and stop this, because this, like you say, cabal, these Zionists, these Chabad Lubavitch, like Jared Kushner is, these Talmud followers, they're nuts. They're insane. And they don't, I think they really deep down believe they're going to bring on their Messiah. And what? We're all going to be Goyim serfs? That ain't going to happen. It's going to be a nuclear war and a lot of dead people. Sometimes I really think, Michael, one thing you're wrong about, aliens must be in charge of this, because you can't do this. There must be something going on behind the scenes we don't know about, because this is never before did. Yeah, like you said, the Soviet Union had their fax machines and they communicate. We got everything right here. We can find out what's going on. How come they're still? How does he get these rallies? How do they do this without? You know, you can't pull the wool over people's eyes when it's right there in their fingertips. They can find out what's really going on. Every one of these false flags.
Hang on a second. He's got the advantage of his stardom. These rallies are not about seeing Donald Trump, the candidate. They're about seeing the President of the United States of America. And how many times have you actually, with your own eyes, seen a President of the United States of America? I saw Richard Nixon once, but he wasn't president at the time. He was over at my grandfather's house for some turkey nip. But other than that, I've never actually seen or met a president in real life, and that's a strong pull.
Yeah. Closest I came is shaking. I campaigned for Ron Paul both times, and I shook his hand, and I was like, shake the hand. They shook the hand of Ron Paul. He's the closest you can get to non-aggressive policy. A true constitutionalist, non-interventionist, and you know what they did to him. But I don't know, Mike. I guess I'm ranting here. I can't believe this is happening. After Vietnam, I had one of my best friends had his legs blown off in Vietnam.
Yes.
You know, I didn't go. Luckily, I missed that one. But you know, we lost over 50,000. What? Are you kidding me? They're actually these aircraft carriers are sitting ducks. Come on. That's old technology, and I know that's why they're kind of keeping them away from there. But there's something missing here, Mike. I honestly think there's something. There's no logic to this at all. I know there never is with war. But once you have the information available, and everybody does, anybody can look up the Gulf of Tonkin. Anybody can look up weapons of mass destruction BS. Anybody can do this on their cell phone. And there should be no chance of this. Anybody that even raises a question of a war with Iran should be arrested, should be interrogated should be put in an insane asylum. Now, I'm sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to rant on, but I see this happening, and sometimes I think I'm dreaming, you know?
It's scary. It's scary. Claire's feeling exactly the same way that you are. I mean, she's out there saying, I can see this coming on, and there's no way to stop it. And it's going to wind up a very bad thing for both sides. Anyway, Stuart, we're going to let you go, and we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are rejoining our network. And back to Paul in Montana. Aloha, Paul. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
and Mr. Rivero. Good afternoon. Two quirky little things. Number one, how come we never hear of the Israel First fifth columnist within our government bureaucracies? We never hear numbers concerning those people. And number two, all of the stuff that we're seeing in mainstream media is for the 88% of the proletariat that would follow, anybody that they tell to follow. But the fifth columnist, the Israeli First bureaucrats within our government, why do we hear so little about them? Thank you, and I'll be listening to you.
Oh, well, the reason is very simple, and that is because they don't want to be seen. They don't want the American people to know about their influence, and so they'll use their influence in the corporate media to not be talked about. It is that simple. They work best when they remain in secrecy. They work best in the dark. And here in the independent media, we are now trying to pull them into the light so that people see what's going on, and that we, the American people, are no longer in charge of our own country, that we are, in fact, now conscripts and mercenaries for a foreign government. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go back here to Stuart in Florida. Aloha, Stuart. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I don't know if you're aware of it, but the Hezbollah has said that if Iran is attacked, they will consider it an attack on them. And I got the impression they would attack Israel, which would probably be the best course for them. The thing is, the Israelis are very tough with their Air Force, but with all the rockets and missiles that are high, sounds like they're high precision now, that Hezbollah has, if they took out the airfields, or at least invaded Israel, it would almost neutralize their strong point, which is the Air Force. They would be reduced if they had the planes to bombing their own country. And as the previous caller mentioned, I think it was Mark, the Israeli army is they're very good at shooting and arresting unarmed women and children and men.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a serious force, they're not very good. And I think, so on another subject, I think the Russians are really making a wrong move by holding back. They should be stepping in, because this has tremendous implications for them in terms of the Muslim radicals infiltrating into southern Russia and causing havoc, as well as disrupting the whole Belt and Road Initiative. So with that, I'll wait for your thoughts.
All right. Well, I disagree with your comment about Russia shouldn't be holding back. Putin continues to be the only real adult on the global stage. And whether it was the deal he made with Syria for Assad to surrender his chemical weapons, or any of the other things he's done, Putin's goal is obviously to not let this rush to war get out of control, because if it does, everybody's going to suffer for it. The United States will suffer for it, Russia will suffer for it, China will suffer for it, the whole Mideast will suffer for it, Europe will suffer for it, and Putin is trying very hard not to let that happen. So I agree with the fact that they are holding back, and they're going with, I guess, what you could call a minimalist approach to foreign policy, which is just the bare minimum needed to hold off U.S. hegemony, like they did in Syria. Just a few missiles here and there, and it just changed the dynamic. So I think that's really what's going on there. But it is... Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, the thing is, a show of force like they did off the coast of Syria a year or two ago could be enough to back off the whole situation and back the U.S. off. And Something else I wanted to say. I think a show of force could prevent the whole thing from happening.
It may be time for one, and we've got a story coming up that may indicate this is about to happen. Anyway, Stuart, we're going to let you go, and we're going to switch over to Robert in Spain. Aloha, Robert. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. I've called several times already. One thing I wanted to say specifically to the people listening is that what we should try to understand, or maybe what we should clarify, is that the main reason these parasitical, Zionists that have managed to grip the U.S. government and everything, and the banks and everything since so long ago, they're not Christians. So I don't know why the Christians are supporting them, and that's the thing. They're Talmudic Babylonians or something like that. They're some psychopath.
Well, it goes back to something called the Scofield Bible, which has been used, and Israel has played this beautifully. They have basically co-opted American Christians into thinking that Israel's Jews and American Christians are working together for the same common goal, which is to bring about the end times and the return of the Messiah. I've met a lot of Christian Zionists, and they're just as fanatical in their beliefs as anybody else who's caught up in religion. But it was a brilliant, brilliant strategy on the part of Israel.
So there's no way to wake them up. So we are doomed, right?
Well, we're doomed from a lot of different directions here, and maybe some of them will wake up. I mean, after a while, fanaticism can be very tiring, and sometimes people just say, "Oh, I really don't want to deal with this anymore," and they just walk away. We know that overall in this country, church attendance is in decline because people are just getting tired of all this. And again, I was raised Congregationalist. It didn't stick. So I think this use of religion as a motivator may have come to its sell-by date. I mean, it was certainly a great motivator in World War I and World War II, and certainly in the Crusades, where everybody was out there saying, yes, I'm going to go on out, and when I'm finished swinging my sword, I'll be up there in heaven with Jesus or Allah or whoever.
Right.
But these days,
so maybe that's why they're going.
These days, I think more and more people going into the war zones are realizing that these stories about heaven and afterlife are just metaphors, and it's there to give them psychological strength and make them willing to risk their lives to carry out their military duties. But I think fewer and fewer are falling for it.
Right. Yeah, but they managed to convince the whole base there to support them, and basically they just doomed the country, doomed the whole planet. But no, I just wanted to say that, and maybe that's why now they're shutting off everybody, right? Shutting everybody's voice out of the internet, out of everywhere. So
they're shutting down opposition to the wars. They're shutting down opposition to vaccines. They're shutting down opposition to GMOs, and of course, they're shutting down conservative voices.
Right, exactly. Okay, Mike, that's all I wanted to say. Cheers, man. Good night.
All right, thanks an awful lot, and we're going to switch over to Dustin in New Jersey. And Dustin, I'm probably going to have to take you through this next commercial break. What is on your mind?
Yeah, that was Pete from Los Angeles who said Israel. They got smacked by Hezbollah. They learned the hard way when Hezbollah sent those Merkavas to the grave, and that's Hezbollah. You're not dealing with the Iranian Republican Guard now, and other specialty groups. So this is a different war altogether, but this is, like all those people who went to see Trump. Yeah, he's a rock star. People go to concerts to view this kind of, a chance to see somebody like that, But unfortunately, most of those people, they don't go to your website or call in who went to that, or they don't go on Zero Hedge. And they're not really I hate to say it, critical thinking skill people. You know, I mean, it's just a sad thing. You know, it's like the evangelicals, the same thing. Like, they're taught. That's why they're radical. Like, they're taught to believe one way. You won't, like you're not going to change these people's minds, just like the neoliberal. They're taught from birth to believe this.
Yeah.
You ain't going to change their way.
And if you abandon that
dangerous
belief, you are going to go to the dark regions upon your death.
Yeah. And Mike, on the other caller, he says if Iran gets attacked, they should attack Israel. You attack Saudi Arabia and the oil fields. What the oil fields is.
All right, Dustin, hold that thought. Dustin, hold that thought. We got to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way. Can't draw no pay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And once again, a reminder that Republic Broadcasting Network needs your generous support, or we are not going to be here any longer. And that is the plain, absolute truth. So, if you can, help out, and there's no such thing as too small a donation. Every little tiny bit helps. The postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity, cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can pledge a credit or debit card donation or pledge to be a recurring subscriber is 800-724-2719, extension 1 during business hours, extension 3 at all other times. Okay, going on back to Dustin in New Jersey, and just pick up where you left off.
Yeah, the listener says they should hit it. Israel's, I mean, what are you going to hit in Israel that's of strategic value? Nothing. There's really nothing there you got to hit the oil fields in Saudi Arabia, because that's what...
I would disagree with you. I would disagree with you. I would say that hitting Israel's weapons factories, and especially that one at Dimona, would absolutely cripple that nation.
Yeah, but wouldn't hitting the oil fields hurt the petrodollar and would make the world knows Saudi Arabia is not a good country.
Yes.
You know, even though we're all told Iran is the evil one, this flavor of the month. But but by Saudi Arabia's oil going offline, 20% of the world's, or maybe more, come from Saudi Arabia. Who's going to fill that gap? Everybody's going to blame the United States for initiating this war. But in the meantime, the petrodollar, wouldn't that get hurt? Because OPEC would probably be in turmoil. So I'm just talking strategically,
Yeah, I imagine so. I mean, there's no question it would disrupt oil traffic. It could lead to a recession. It could lead to dry pumps at the gas station. It's a very reckless situation. Now, of course, the United States has been developing their oil industry over the last decade. And if war with Iran shuts off oil coming through the Gulf, well, then I'm sure the United States would be perfectly happy to sell oil and gas to those countries that used to buy it from Iran.
What happens if one of our pipeline, like say the pipeline from the tar sands in Canada gets sabotaged, or one of the refineries of heavy crude in Texas gets sabotaged? How many refineries do you think it would take in this country to be sabotaged or taken down for maybe a month or two to really make an impact? Like, what would happen to this country on fueling our own economy? Because, we're a consumption-based economy, right?
Yes.
So we use a lot of, what do we use, 40 million barrels of oil a day or something like that? And we don't produce enough to fulfill our obligations here. That's why we have to bring in oil from Saudi Arabia. We don't have enough. We consume too much.
Yes.
But throw in the rest of the world consuming Saudi oil. I think, so Israel does have Dimona and stuff, but I'm talking with the petrodollar per se. You'll engulf the world at this point, and then maybe the world will say, you know what, enough of this, because I don't think they'll say enough of this if you just hit Israel. I mean, Iran has the capability to really hurt Saudi Arabia if Saudi Arabia wants to go, because Saudi Arabia don't have a real army. It's all mercenaries.
Yep.
Plus, all Sudanese,
they're exhausted from their war against Yemen. Their supplies are drawn down, and I think if Iran is attacked, if the U.S. goes on in and bombs one of their nuclear facilities, I think Iran is probably going to try and close the Straits of Hormuz. And that will cause all kinds of economic upheaval all over the globe.
And I'm just going to leave you with this, Mike. Iran's also got submarines. So Saudi Arabia, how are they going to fill up tankers? You know what I mean? Like, with oil. They're not. So this is a dangerous game. There's a lot of different things going on. It's like I just feel sorry for the people like cheerleading for Trump, because they just don't understand. I'm not just talking about the Christians, just the people who think Trump's going to fix stuff. And I just saw 1,000 people are trickling over the border per day, and nothing Mike, nothing is stopping them from. He's not stopping them. There's no wall. There's nothing going on in this country. Jesus, I mean, they're talking about reparations the other day.
Well, I know they're talking about reparations, and of course, Trump, as part of his campaign, came on out and promised that millions of illegal immigrants who fail to show up for their court dates are going to be rounded up and deported. And as I said when it first came on out, I'll believe it when I see it, because right now we have a central federal government that is all talk and no action. It's all hat, no cattle. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why I think we are an empire in decline. Anyway, Dustin, got to let you go. Got to take another break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. We'll plant them anywhere you like and blow up anyone. Whip this world into a frenzy, killing babies, dads, and moms. If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. If you got the money, well, we won't say we did. The towers
And
in
aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Now, the United States maintains a list of countries that recruit and use child soldiers. And apparently, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, overruling experts in the field, has blocked the inclusion of Saudi Arabia on that list, despite experts' findings that the Saudi Arabian coalition has been using underage fighters in Yemen's civil war. But they're our friends, so we'll just look the other way. All right, story coming on out of Press TV. The U.S. government has obtained intelligence that Saudi Arabia has significantly escalated its ballistic missile program with the help of China. So now Saudi Arabia has long-range missiles for everybody to get nervous about. Over in the Mediterranean, Spain is continuing to refuel Russian ships despite pressure from NATO to just not do business with people we don't like. And apparently, Spain is also out there saying it's time for Great Britain to leave Gibraltar. The Spanish ambassador to the United Nations, Agustin Santos Maravar, called out the UK for their military installations in Gibraltar during a scathing speech to the UN Committee on Decolonization. Now, that was going to be a big issue for Brexit. When Britain leaves the European Union, whenever that happens, would Gibraltar be considered part of the newly independent Great Britain, or would they still be part of Spain? Well, maybe this is Spain's way of dealing with the crisis. Speaking about Spain, Vox, which is an anti-immigration party, has 24 seats in the Spanish parliament and 3 in the European Parliament. And for some unknown reason, YouTube suspended their account. There's been no explanation, and Vox is demanding an explanation from YouTube, saying, why did you do that? Well, it's because the liberals, of which YouTube is many, they support open borders and immigration. They think it's wonderful. Apparently, the United States is sending $250 million in lethal aid to Ukraine. That's a funny phrase, lethal aid. Why don't they just say weapons? So it's important that we all make sacrifices so that Ukraine can get more sniper rifles, rocket-propelled grenade launchers, and other high-tech weaponry to fight those evil Ruskies. So, apparently, Vladimir Putin's early June 2019 summit in Moscow with the People's Republic of China President Xi Jinping seems likely to have a disproportionate influence on the next phases of the crisis unfolding in the greater Middle East and therefore on the future of the region. Basically, the escalating confrontation between Iran and the U.S. is both influencing and influenced by the megatrends set by Russia and the People's Republic of China. Basically, Russia and China see that it's no longer a unipolar world. It's gone back to being a multipolar world. There's the United States, there's Russia, there's China, there's a few others. Now, those protests over in Hong Kong, they were just monstrous. A 2 million strong march. And when it was all over, they did something rather amazing that, frankly, you do not see here in the United States. The marchers stayed overnight to clean up the streets. When the sun came up the next morning, there wasn't a scrap of trash. So, good for them. I've been to demonstrations, I've been to parades where It's all over, and there's just all kinds of trash all over the place, and the attitude is, oh, let the city pick it up. Alrighty. Everyone's always talking about special relations, our special relationship with Great Britain, our special relationship with Israel. Well, that last one is the only one that matters right now. And having given his blessing to all of Jerusalem as Israeli property, and now handing Golan to Israel's possession, Donald Trump has undermined the entire foundation of the Land for Peace deal enshrined in Security Council Resolution 242. And Israel is understandably happy. They got the land. They're not having to make peace. This is another gift to Netanyahu for his election. All right, the Israeli international TV channel I-24 News last week aired a call for the total ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. And British far-right demagogue Katie Hopkins stated there will never, ever be a two-state solution. Israel will become the superforce here. You will have to have a one-state solution. There will not be peace in Israel until you remove the people who don't belong there. Well, the Palestinians have been sitting on that ground for a very, very long time. Most of the Jews are recent immigrants here. Now, back in 1967, as it turns out, Israel established a committee looking for ways to encourage Palestinians to emigrate immediately after occupying the West Bank of their own free will. And according to Plus 972 magazine, the discovery was made by Omri Shafar Raviv, a PhD student in the Department of Jewish History at Hebrew University. The study uses official government documents from the '67 war and its aftermath that have only recently been declassified. And the documents uncovered show that mere weeks after the Six-Day War, Israel enlisted teams of academics in the country to find ways to encourage Palestinians to emigrate from the newly occupied territories. And obviously it didn't work. The Palestinians, they cling to their land. It's part of their personality here. So, all right. Israeli forces yesterday demolished a structure which they're describing as an agricultural purposes structure, meaning it's a barn. But they demolished a barn and uprooted a number of olive trees in the village of Kusra near northern West Bank city of Nablus. And apparently the barn was demolished last November. Its owners rebuilt it again. But of course, Israel refused to issue them a permit to rebuild the barn. So the Israeli forces came in and demolished it along with those olive trees. And remember, it takes 10 years after planting an olive tree before you get saleable product out of it. So this is a major hit on these farmers. One of our callers called on in about this. Israel plans to purchase 8 Boeing KC-46 Pegasus aircraft from the U.S. to replace the Israeli Air Force's current fleet, which includes the aging KC-130 Hercules and the converted Boeing 707s. And apparently the United States Air Force only started receiving the Pegasus earlier this year. So Israel's getting it almost as fast as our own people. Now, before these U.S. aircraft were being used by Israel was considered a loan or a rent. These are outright purchase, these Pegasus aircraft here. Okay, up in Germany, there is a music festival that disinvited American rapper Talib Kweli because of his support of boycott, divestment, and sanctions. And it was called the Open Source Festival. It's in Dusseldorf. So PACB, the Palestinian Campaign for the Academic and Cultural Boycott of Israel, is now calling for other artists to cancel their performances at this festival. to show solidarity with Quilly. They might get a few of them here. Earlier in the week, we reported that former Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi died in the court building shortly after one of his hearings. And apparently a lot of people are very suspicious about what happened, and they have a right to be, because apparently Morsi knew a lot of things which were threatening to come on out during this trial. And apparently Morsi was left unconscious on the floor for 20 minutes before any first aid or medical attention was brought about. So everybody's out there saying, who killed Mohamed Morsi? And he was Egypt's first democratically elected president in a very, very long time. And now it looks like he's going to be the last. So the man who deposed him, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, will never allow for an international investigation. El-Sisi is ruling Egypt in the manner and style of the ancient pharaohs. All right, we're going to take a phone call here. Jesse in Texas, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Doing okay.
Okay, thanks for taking my call. I've called a couple of times already. This is my third time calling. I was just going to talk about immigration and how, I'm from Texas, so I live here in the state. And I've listened to your show a couple of times ago, like a couple of days ago, and we were talking about how we are losing the country. And I'm afraid it's already gone.
Yeah.
It's already gone. The liberalism is completely out of control. You cannot say what you want. It's almost like when, back in the day when people said things like Jesus or, stuff like that, people will go, ooh. It's like that whenever you say anything, whether it be a joke about a chubby person or about somebody's mother. And I'm not saying it's just a joking thing, I'm just, trying to joke around, liven the mood, we're all at work or whatever. But you can't because of those policies. And it's not people older than me, and I'm 27. It's usually people younger than me and about my age that are so, everything offends them.
Yep.
And I'm sorry I got off topic, but the immigration thing. At my job, that's all there is. Unless they're working in upper management or waiting jobs, stuff like that. Other than that, you got your dishwashers, you got your cooks, you got your preparation people, you got, everything else, and all that. There is not one American citizen there anymore. I'm probably the last one, and I struggle almost every day keeping my job. Not fighting with these people, and I don't go to work just trying to fight with these people, because everybody's trying to make a living, but it seems like they kind of don't. They don't care about us at all. They think our women are, floozies, that all they want to do is sleep around, and it's almost like they're being racist toward us, and we can't say nothing back. Calling people things like güero, and basically that's calling a person a white, like, hey, white boy. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you flip the script and said that about a black person, you'd probably be in jail. People busting your windows and all kinds of stuff. You can't say that even about, these illegal immigrants. You can't even say that word at my job, because if you do, everybody turns around and you probably get a knife stuck in your back or something. And I'm not even playing. There's a house down my street, and you can call it, and nobody can rent it. It's not for rent. See, what they're doing is they're bringing immigrants legal. They put them in this house. I'm like, I could see it right down the street from where I'm living. And they bring in people, and they'll live there about a good 3 to 6 months, and then they'll take off, and then you see a new group of people. And it's like a front house or something. I don't know, because people are there, but it's never the same people. And it's always moving, like there's always traffic stuff. Always kind of. I'm just saying, Mike, we're done. It's over. Unless everybody stops going to work, stops going to Walmart, stops going to, whatever. We need to stop consuming. That's a big thing. I think all this consumption, like you said, we're wasting. We waste so much stuff. We need to stop and just think about what we're doing right now, because anymore, and we're finished.
Yes. Well, I'm in agreement with you. I mean, this country is certainly not what it was when I was younger, and it's headed in a very bad direction. And I don't see anybody in a position of power and authority and control who seems intent on diverting course or applying the brakes. Certainly during the campaigns, they'll say that's what they want to do. But I think we all learned a very hard lesson, both from Obama in 2008 and Trump in 2016, when they both campaigned on ending the wars and bringing folks home. And in both cases, it did not happen.
I gotta say, yeah, Trump did bamboozle us. I mean, nothing has been done, and you can't really even. How can you tell the economy's doing better? How can you actually tell? You know, they say, it's doing better, and even the people that backed Trump up. And I was a person who voted for Trump. I just feel like so retarded for voting for him because I can't even explain it.
Well, it
all right,
wasn't
Mike.
so much
I just wanted to.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Well, I was saying it wasn't so much that I supported Trump as I opposed Hillary Clinton, and I'm still worried that she may step on back in next year.
I have the same feelings, and I mean, but if you think about it, Trump is giving them everything they wanted, anyways.
Yeah.
So I mean, so it's like it's like if Obama had stayed in there still and never left, because I mean, no matter what, I mean, the wars are still going. We got this guy I saw on the news the other day. And I don't even pay attention to these people because I'm done with it. But this guy is there saying we gotta attack Iran because of the Japanese ships. My question is, what are we worried about Japanese ships for anyway? I'm thinking the
it's
Japanese
not our
country
job
is
to
doing
take care
pretty
of
good.
Japan. Anyway, Jesse, got to take a break for commercials. Thank you for the phone call. We'll be right back.
Thank you, Mike.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show and getting on back to Egypt. And little article here coming on out of Middle East Eye saying that the dramatic death Monday of Morsi, Egypt's only democratically elected president in recent history, was no surprise. And they're saying even the timing was ironic, just 2 weeks short of the 6th anniversary of his overthrow and arrest, following the military coup which removed him from office 1 year into his presidency. They're saying the only surprise is that he lasted this long under the deplorable conditions they kept him in, because apparently he had his medical issues. They were not being treated. Okay, a little bit of embarrassment for the United States down in Venezuela. Apparently, the opposition government of Juan Guaido has been caught embezzling large amounts of the cash being sent in as humanitarian aid to Venezuela. They just came on in, they put it in their pocket, they walked away, and they got caught doing it. So I think that may throw some cold water on Guaido as the new president of Venezuela when he's going to act like that. Chinese President Xi Jinping is traveling to North Korea this week, could be there already, looking to strengthen the sometimes shaky bond between North Korea and China at a time when both are locked with the United States in disputes. In the case of China, it's trade. In the case of North Korea, it's nuclear weapons. So ultimately what's going to happen is North Korea is being driven into China's sphere of influence by the way the United States handles this situation. Okay, apparently a U.S. B-52 bomber was flying on a course that was going to take it over Crimea, which is now Russian territory. So to nobody's surprise, 2 Sukhoi 27 fighter jets were sent on out to intercept it. And they basically, there were 2 separate incidents where they simply went up, and the video's posted. And they're flying near the bomber, but it's not dangerously close. But apparently they're saying that one of the B-52s subsequently made an emergency landing at RAF Mildenhall in Britain following what they're claiming to be an unrelated in-flight emergency, rented lips. One of the U.S. strategic bombers was reportedly flying direct for the Crimean Peninsula over the Black Sea. So it's another provocation here. Now, this is what I said before about things are escalating, and Russia may be thinking about at least a symbolic gesture pushing back. One of Russia's newest warships, the first-in-class Project 22350 frigate, the Admiral Gorshkov, it's their most modern warship, has entered the Caribbean and is likely headed toward Cuba. This, of course, is going to annoy the United States, because only the United States can sail up to other people's shorelines. All right, we got to take a break for station identification. We'll be right back.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs. Memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. And getting on back to the much beleaguered F-35, apparently the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps variants of the F-35s have been found to become unpredictable to handle when executing the kind of extreme maneuvers a pilot would use in a dogfight or while avoiding a missile. This is being reported in Defense News. And apparently, the Marine short takeoff and vertical landing variant and the Navy's carrier launch version become difficult to control when the aircraft is operating above a 20-degree angle of attack, which is the angle between the oncoming air and the leading edge of the wing. So pilots are reporting that the aircraft experienced unpredictable changes in pitch, as well as erratic yaw and rolling motions. And the documents identify the issue as Category 1, saying it is something that limits the aircraft's performance in such a way that it cannot accomplish its primary or alternate missions. Okay, how much did they spend designing that thing? It's a lot. It was a lot. Okay, for everybody's still over at the Paris Air Show, you know, trying to talk up their own products here. And apparently the Raytheon Northrop Grumman team is over there basically bragging about a new hypersonic scramjet system that they're going to put together. And it will be the size of cruise missiles launched from air, land, and sea. There will be a swarm of up to 30 of these scramjets. They'll share data with each other, correcting their flights, changing targets mid-course, and they can be manufactured relatively quickly and for much less cost than most of the hypersonic vehicles that have been built so far. I'll believe that last one when I see it here. So Tom Busing, who's Raytheon's VP for Advanced Missile Systems, is saying the team is quickly developing air-breathing hypersonic weapons to keep our nation ahead. And this may have been in response to the article that came out, I think it was about a week ago, saying that in point of fact, Russia and China are years ahead of the United States on this technology. Okay, so let's talk about our domestic politics here. Everyone's talking about Trump's rally in Orlando last night. Was a huge crowd. They had 120,000 more requests for tickets than they had tickets to give out. So it's obvious Trump can pack them in. There is no question that Trump can pack them in. Interestingly enough, the Orlando Sentinel, just hours before his rally, published an editorial that is a non-endorsement. It says not Donald Trump. And even this editorial said, some readers will wonder how we could possibly eliminate a candidate so far before the election and before knowing the identity of his opponent? That's a very, very good question. And again, to me, that's an indicator that Hillary is, in fact, going to step on in. Now, CNN didn't give the rally much coverage because when Trump got up there, they chose to air the event Tuesday, but the crowd started chanting, CNN sucks, CNN sucks, CNN sucks. And so CNN basically just cut away saying, okay, we've been watching the stage for about 6 minutes, and they just went away. And a lot of people were saying, why are you even airing his rally? This is a multi-million-dollar contribution to his re-election campaign to give him this much media exposure. And yes, it is. But on the other hand, he is the president, and this is newsworthy, and that's what CNN is supposed to be covering. As one of our callers mentioned, Trump took in a record-breaking amount of donations less than 24 hours after kicking off his re-election campaign. And, well, good for him. But again, I think he needs to pay more attention to some of his other base. Yes, the ones who clap and cheer in the arenas, that's an important part of it. The ones who are handing over money, that's an important part of it. But Trump seems to have forgotten the very important role social media played in him having that job in the first place. And if he doesn't wake up and do something about it, it's going to be working against him. By the time the election of 2020 comes around, all of social media will be liberal Democrat propaganda and nothing else allowed. Now, we talked earlier in the week about how Trump's re-election campaign fired 3 of their pollsters after a series of embarrassing leaks of internal survey data. However, John McLaughlin, who's a close ally to Donald Trump, is still on the payroll. Now, one Republican strategist says we need to be careful because McLaughlin has a long history of bad data. His track record is spotty at best. So, anyway. So basically, Trump kept a pollster who says he's winning. Now, Biden, as you know, is leading in the polls over on the Democratic side by actually quite a wide margin. And it has tempted him to start to brag and boast, which it's premature for that, Joe. It really, really is here. All right, we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. And apparently over in Congress, they're still having that hearing about slavery reparations. Okay, every one of you who was a slave in the Deep South, raise your hand. Okay, none. All of those who were antebellum slave owners, raise your hand. I think that solves the problem right there. Okay. Now, Tulsi Gabbard is already out there on the campaign trail. She's making foreign policy her central issue on the campaign trail. She's a big proponent of diplomacy, and as you know, back in 2017, she flew to Syria and met with President Bashar al-Assad. Now, that got all kinds of negative attention from the corporate media. How dare you talk to the person we tell you to hate? But it got a lot of positive attention from the anti-war crowd. She introduced a bill to the floor of Congress called the Stop Arming Terrorist Acts, being one of the only members of Congress to recognize the U.S. arming of violent jihadists in Syria. Okay, so far so good. Now, this article came out of the original antiwar.com, and they're talking about, Gabbard is an Iraq war veteran. She's still a member of the National Guard. She holds the rank of major. And she draws upon her experience in Iraq when she talks about ending and preventing more costly regime change wars, which is why the military-industrial complex will be absolutely out to sabotage her any way they can. Now, Gabbard was quick to speak out about the situation in Venezuela. on Julian Assange and the escalating tensions with Iran. And there was this interesting commentary saying that there is a flaw in Gabbard's rhetoric, because she says that when it comes to regime change, she's a dove, but on the war on terror, she's a hawk. So when that came on out, one member of the audience came on out and said, well, what if you have to regime change a country to remove a terrorist threat? And of course, that's an attempt to blur the issue so that Tulsi Gabbard gets boxed into a corner saying that under certain circumstances she'll authorize a war. So there we are. Over at Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton is saying that Donald Trump is correct to raise this issue about this huge corruption scandal, the biggest in American history. And it's all about how this whole Spygate, Russiagate was created and why it was created. This is bigger than Watergate. Okay. Over at the State Department, they've identified 23 violations and multiple security incidents concerning the Hillary Clinton emails. Now, I note this article seems to want to avoid talking about the private server, but they're still going through the Clinton emails, and apparently they've identified several lower down staffers who may get a wrist slap. So it looks like the Department of Justice is doing their job here. Okay, getting on back to reparations here, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell he's saying this is ridiculous. Nobody currently alive was responsible for that, and he's slamming the Democrats' push for reparations. And they had actor Danny Glover was in there testifying, trying to use his star power. But McConnell said, I don't think reparations for something that happened 150 years ago, for whom none of us currently living are responsible, is a good idea. And I'm totally in agreement. But we're getting into this culture right now where the black population is thinking that because their ancestors were slaves, that it justifies all kinds of bad behavior today. So apparently a black parolee raped a white woman on the roof of his Bronx apartment, and he apparently told a witness that she deserved the attack because of slavery. And Tamar Bishop, 23, said she was a white girl. She deserved it because us minorities had been through slavery. This is what they used to do to us. This is what they did to us during slavery. They used to beat us and whip us. And by the way, this is not the first time one of these rapes has occurred and been blamed on the fact that there was once slavery. But listen, my ancestors in the 1490s were victims of the Inquisition. Does that somehow make it right for me to set Catholics on fire today? I'm pretty sure most of you, especially the Catholics, are going to say, no, of course not. This is just pandering for the black vote, plain and simple. And by the way, I hate to be the one to tell you this. If you fall for it, if you vote for the Democrats because you're going to get slavery reparations, no way will you get them because nobody's got the money. Now, Trump has just announced a plan, or actually it was announced through Department of the Interior Secretary David Bernhardt, a plan to open up more than 1.4 million acres of federal land through the elimination of some 7,500 regulations. And this land is going to be opened up. It includes 74 national wildlife refuges and 15 national fish hatcheries. So that's going to make hiking a little more pleasant this summer. Get the people's land back here. Getting into the economic news here, Bernie Sanders is saying the fact that minimum wage workers cannot afford a 2-bedroom apartment in any U.S. state is now a national disgrace. And let me respond to somebody. Okay, little technical issue. The U.S. manufacturing index has turned negative. It is now in a steep decline, and that is a signal that our economy is rapidly slowing down. Other data from leaked documents is suggesting that Tesla has not met a Model 3 production goal set by Elon Musk in recent weeks. They're just not able to do it. The global trade war continues to deepen. Singapore's electronics exports fell a massive 31% in May, the most in more than 10 years. Okay, we're going to grab a phone call here from Jim in New York. Aloha, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mark. Yeah, there's something I want to talk about that went down today in Brooklyn, in federal court in Brooklyn, New York. I don't know if it's on Drudge or not. I don't have internet, but it was discussed on local radio shows about what happened today, what's happened at 10:30 today, and this is amazing to wrap your mind. And it's a subject that's been discussed by John and by also I think by Slattery also. And we know the NEA is trying to get little toddlers to question their gender identity and all those things, right? Now listen to this side of it. The city of New York passed a law, it's already on the books, that any therapist or psychologist who assists a patient, a willing patient who seeks him out to fight a tendency towards homosexuality, this therapist can be fined $10,000 per day or per occasion. This is on the books. Now, there's a rabbi who was also a lettered psychologist who was bringing that to court.
Yes.
He went today in Brooklyn federal court to get an injunction to stop it until it's gone to trial. And again, this is people who seek him out for help, and he can be fined for helping them. This is an amazing, horrifying thing. So I just wanted to bring that up. Check it out on Google or whatever. It's a Brooklyn Federal Court, New York City, whatever, conversion. It's not even conversion. It's people who seek them out. So check it out to make sure they know, because to check the credentials. I know it's right because it's been talked about on the radio all day. But I just wanted to point that out. And this ties in with a lot of what John Stadmeyer has been talking about, and I think Patrick Slattery also.
Yeah. It's just crazy out there, and you're trying to, are they that desperate to remake the entire world in their own image, as opposed to simply live and let live? But it does seem
unbelievable.
Yeah, they're trying to indoctrinate children into the lifestyle, and I don't know whether it's they're dealing with some kind of internal guilt that they're trying to rationalize. I don't understand it. Nobody's ever explained why they're doing this.
I have actually traced this back. A lot of people, I have traced it back to the book of Genesis. You know the story of the angels who came to the guests who came to Lot in the city of Sodom and Gomorrah?
Yes.
And all the people wanted to take them out and rape them because they were his house guests. You heard the story, right?
Yeah.
So this is the same psychology. Why did those people want to grab the house guests? They were unsuccessful. But why did they want to grab the house guests? They were actually angels disguised as house. Why did they want to grab them and rape them? They wasn't happy. They had to bring everybody into their circle of perversion. They're so guilty. They will not be happy until everybody is the same way.
I guess so, but talk about a sign of the end times, huh?
That's exactly what it is. In fact, the rabbi said, "Let the times come, but let me not be living in that generation." They said it's going to be terrible. The rabbis have said it was predicted in different books. They said, "Let it come because it's pre-messianic, but let me not live in those times because it's going to be so horrible."
It is getting pretty horrible out there.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up today.
All right.
Can I say one more thing? Can I
Yeah,
say
one more thing. Got 30
Talk
seconds.
about that case. Okay, the case in the Bronx. I was once on the subway looking very Jewish with a black coat and everything. Not really a Hasidic coat, but just a black overcoat and a black hat. And it was crowded as rush hour. People. Okay, so an African American man was sitting next to his girlfriend. I was standing, and he said, "If that Jew steps on my foot, I'm going to blah 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 beat him up." And I said, "Did I step on your foot?" And all of a sudden, he got up. It was a crowded car. He got up. He started taking off his jacket and pulling his arm back like he wanted to slug me. And he said, "Your people have been bothering my people for all these generations." And just as he was about to do something, the door opened, and I got out, and I said, "Good." And I
Well,
walked
good.
away.
Good that you did. All right, well, listen, Jim, we got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Ann, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go back to the phones here to Al in Canada. Aloha, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I sent you an email. It was a comment made on the CBC.
Yeah.
They're doing a series on climate change because we do pay a tax.
Yes.
So, anyways, I called about misinformation. And maybe I'm naive, but I thought, like 25 years ago, that when this internet, finally hit the routers up here in Canada, in other words, it was still really low speed, like 56 baud, 56K.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to change everything. And what I thought was we're going to have like a new era of growth because of an exchange of ideas. It was everyone. A library is at your fingertips.
Yes.
It didn't happen that way, Mike. What happened was someone saw a way to basically take people's information, sell it, use it against them, and sometimes politicians, and or basically just twist things for their own greedy intents. And we're there, Mike. Social media, I mean, it's a plague. Cell phones, it's a mental disorder. People are constantly on them, and it all goes hand in hand. This is crazy.
Well,
we've entered a world.
I want to offer a slightly different point of view. The internet, the cell phones, and so forth are tools and technology, and they can be used and abused and misused. It doesn't necessarily mean the technology itself is the bad thing. There are people who spend way too much time on their electronic devices. There are other people who just use them for the few moments they need, and then they put them away. It really is more up to the individual and how responsible they are in using the tools. It's like a microwave oven. Are you going to use it properly according to the directions, or are you going to try and dry your hair in there because you're running late in the morning? So I don't think the technology itself is necessarily bad. And frankly, there has been a lot of good that came out of the internet, especially with regard to access to information all over the globe. Mostly, sadly, funny kitten videos, but you get the idea.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the technology is bad. I mean, technology is great. I think we are in an era where it's being manipulated and used against us.
No question about that.
It's painfully obvious to me.
No question about that.
But the technology is great.
Yep.
It is. It's great. I love this stuff. I don't use a lot of it, the portable stuff, because, I like to think in that, but and interact with people around me and everything else. And it's getting scary, Mike. I've been called confrontational. I looked at the person, I said, how are you? How are you doing? So we're getting to the point where it's insane. People are just glued to these things.
Yeah,
and they don't let go.
They're losing their interpersonal skills.
Oh, jeez. They're losing everything. I can't believe it. Mike, these high-tech, quote, high-tech companies. High-tech. This is not high-tech. It's a big server. It's a bunch of hard drives, for crying out loud. And some processors. I mean, come on, this isn't high-tech. NASA is high-tech. But anyways, it's got to be broken up. It has to be.
Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. Back when I worked at NASA, I was still using a slide rule. So NASA and high-tech grew up together, and it is high-tech, especially for those of us old enough to remember what we had to deal with back then. And one of the computers that we were using in the Spaceflight Operations Facility was the IBM 7094 real-time processor system. It took up an entire room, and it was a very cool machine, and we used it, and it worked very well. But it was eventually the machine that became the architecture of the IBM PC. They took that entire gigantic machine full of circuits, translated it onto a single silicon wafer, and that's when computers became desktop. Sometimes I'll look at the new tech, like the the Raspberry Pis, and I'm just in awe when I remember what it was like back in those early days, with like punched cards, the 029 little keyboard. Fortran. That was the first programming language I learned was Fortran. Anyway, listen, Al, got to let you go. Got to take another break for commercials. Got another caller waiting on the line. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go to the phones here to Dennis in Florida. Aloha, Dennis. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Thanks for taking my call. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you just fine.
I've listened to you for a long time. I know you're a warrior of sorts in this unending battle for good against evil. Would you say good against evil?
War against peace.
A little more vague, but okay, I've got a plan. I look into the future because the solutions that we have are few and far between. People are unwilling to go to the sound of the cannon, right? I mean, they're unwilling to let go of their comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
Would you agree to that or not?
I would agree to that.
I mean, and that's been, it can be argued, there's a lot of arguments toward why or how, or it's a combination, I think, from lack of courage to just straight manipulation by the powers that should not be, right?
Yes.
Yes. In the end, though, so solutions are simple to me. Just stop going along with the system. I mean, just know it for what it is and then stop going along with it, right? Now, that'd be the simplest solution, wouldn't it?
Yes. But of course, the government is trying to limit your ability to get along without the system. They're starting to ban homeschooling. They're trying to ban alternative medications. They're trying to, I mean, basically say, your only option to stay alive is to be plugged into our system.
Yeah. So, but I have this thing about control. We're not controlled. We allow ourselves to be controlled, right?
Right.
Isn't that more correct? Yeah. So if we allow ourselves to be controlled, we can only have ourselves to blame for whatever happens. I mean, if we have all the tools at our fingertips. Education is not hard anymore. I mean, it used to be hard. I mean, it used to really feel really hard. But now we have everything we need at our fingertips.
Yes.
So now there's no excuses. There's no excuses, right?
Right.
Did you want to say something?
At all. No excuse at all.
Yes.
It just takes a little bit of work.
Work. But now I keep saying courage. What would be a better word for what we lack?
Yes, you are correct. It does take courage to step outside that little safety zone and take a look at the evidence that the government is lying to you to trick us into wars, to get your money, to get your obedience, and that we are treated more like farm animals than human beings deserving of respect.
Oh, yeah. And fear, that word fear for me is like important, because I think if people live in fear, which I think a lot of people do, and for many reasons, that's the real important word in our dilemma. I mean, it really is the fear factor, because if you're afraid, man, it's not even just a mental aspect. It's a physical aspect. It's the chemistry of fear is negative. It's negative ions in the atmosphere. I mean, it puts out a lot of bad vibes. I mean, it's been talked about forever, and there's reality there. There's a real truthness there that we have to understand the importance of fear. And I think a lot of people live in fear.
Yeah. And some of it is justified, fear of the government, fear of the wars. Some of it is manufactured, fear of inner city crime or a terrorist. And again, fear is a very powerful tool for the government to use in domestic statecraft.
And understanding fear is also a powerful tool, because if it's manipulated fear, it's just false fear. And if you're smart enough, and I apologize for that.
Yeah. Please don't curse on this radio.
John would hate me for this right now. Well, fear, again, should be understood. And there's reason to be afraid. I mean, there's many reasons to be afraid. We have this unimaginable power that looms over us at every turn. I mean, all they want from us is our blood and our money. And they're getting it, for sure. And I think in the end, Mike, thank you again for listening to me and letting me talk. In the end, I think just because they're so in control, that our last resort will be like a freedom flight to different states that just secede and decide to be their own countries. This country is big enough to have that. I think that's the solution, is to all states just decide they're independent countries. And I think that's how it was. I think the founders of this country was kind of, maybe they didn't specify that, but I think that's what they were thinking. Would you agree?
Yeah,
or not?
that's yeah. Each state was a separate sovereign entity that made its own laws and that basically managed itself. And the central federal government was basically to arbitrate dispute between the separate states and in time of war to organize the military. Other than that, the federal government was kept intentionally weak and helpless. Unfortunately, we weren't able to keep it under control.
So how do we find our way back to sovereignty in each state?
Again, I think we're going to have to just let the system crash and then restart from the beginning with that Constitution, the first 13 amendments, and just say, this was a really good model. Let's just start with that and we'll move forward.
Well, okay. So what's the precedent for that? Where there's no precedent for where we're at now anyway, but if this were to collapse, and that being said, do you think the powers that should not be will really allow us just to, benignly collapse into this soft goo and then come back? No, they're going to burn things down, I think.
Well, they may not have much say in it, but again, the precedents I look at is the decline and fall of Rome and the fall of the Soviet Union. And I think those are our best option in terms of getting a reset on the government without a lot of blood in the streets.
Well, we cannot know, can we?
No.
We will just find out, won't we?
Time will solve that mystery.
So, thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate you, man. I really do.
All right. Well, Dennis, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to let you go. Getting on back to the immigration news, we were talking about earlier how New York had passed a law giving driver's licenses to illegal immigrants, and apparently this has triggered a revolt because New York County clerks are refusing to follow the new law. They're basically saying, no, if you're an illegal immigrant, you don't have a right to drive in this country, and they're apparently standing firm on it. Now, according to this report that came on out from Government Slaves, U.S. senators have struck a $4.5 billion deal on border funds. And so maybe something will now get done. Trump is still insisting that illegal immigration roundups will start next week, despite Immigration Customs Enforcement denying they knew about it, and Democratic cities saying they're going to resist it. So this is going to be very, very intense. Like I said, I'll believe it when I see it. Because after all, it was a promise made on the campaign trail, and those are pretty much worthless. All right. British Home Secretary Sajid Javid announced Monday the government is planning to resettle thousands more refugees nonstop from the Middle East, Africa, and beyond, starting from next year and for years to come. And it's being done to, quote, transform communities, end quote. So there it is. They don't want England to be England anymore. They want it to be something else. So they're going to transform the communities into whatever that something else happens to be. Alrighty. Still have a problem with these sanctuary cities releasing criminal aliens, despite the holes put on them by Immigration Customs Enforcement. And among the latest round of illegal immigrant criminals who got out was a dog rapist, suspected killers, and accused child rapist. I would have put that one up front ahead of the dog, much as I like dogs. A convicted adult rapist and others were released by Sanctuary City jail officials. Some of these criminal aliens went on to commit other crimes after release, including a murder-suicide. And Brian Wilcox, acting field operations director, said when local law enforcement decides to uphold sanctuary policies and release illegal criminal aliens without notifying ICE, it is a decision to protect and release criminals who are preying on victims in our communities. They're basically putting the needs of the criminals above the needs of our legal, lawful citizens here. Okay, pardon me. Apparently, one Bordertown mayor, Democrat Mayor Bruno Lozano of Del Rio, Texas, basically said it's time for the government to act. The immigration crisis is engulfing his small border town, and he's saying it's time for members of Congress to just get on a plane and come on down and take a look at what it's really like dealing with illegal immigration at the local level. And according to Fox News, the mayor invited members of Congress down to his part of the world to witness the issues with their own eyes. So this mayor explained that illegal immigration is crushing his town and taking away resources from other needed projects. Definitely would. Okay, up in Connecticut, apparently Alex Jones has been sanctioned by a judge for claiming that the lawyers for the families of Sandy Hook victims currently suing him for defamation are the ones who tried to frame him with child pornography. With Alex absent proof, that was a very reckless thing for you to say. Now, this article doesn't say exactly what the sanctions are, if it's contempt of court, if it's a fine. But again, you've got to be very careful in making a clear line between what you suspect and what you can prove. Now, Alex Jones has offered his viewers a $1 million reward for information that leads to an arrest of anybody who sent the porn-laden email to him. The United Nations Rapporteur on Torture, Nils Melzer, has become one of Julian Assange's most vocal advocates. He visited the WikiLeaks founder and journalist at Belmarsh Prison, which is a real hard-time British prison, where Julian is serving a 50-week prison sentence for a minor bail violation. Melzer was accompanied by 2 medical experts who specialize in the examination of possible victims of torture, as well as the documentation of symptoms, both physical and psychological. The team was able to speak with Assange and conduct a medical assessment following a set of guidelines known as the Istanbul Protocol, a tool designed to help UN workers and others investigate, document, and report incidents of torture and ill treatment. According to Melzer, the evidence is overwhelming that Assange has been deliberately exposed for a period of several years to progressively more severe forms of cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment, the effects of which he described as psychological torture. So, alrighty, over at Russia today, and this may be because of this little exchange they had the other day about U.S. cyber weapons in the Russian power grid. Moscow is out there saying that the age of digital terrorism is coming, and it may be just as dangerous as weapons of mass destruction. Well, it can certainly spread a very long distance very quickly. And again, if you knock out the entire power grid of an entire country, you can't even do that with a nuclear weapon. So apparently Russians saying the internet has become the main mechanism for various extremists to control their scattered forces and resources, while there are currently around 30,000 extremist and terrorist websites online. So, all right. Okay, Amazon's video game site Twitch has purchased the abandoned social network Bebo for $25 million in an effort to restore it to its former glory. Now, I don't know if that means to restore Twitch to its former glory or Bebo, but I have a feeling it's probably Twitch, because we were using Twitch here for a while, and it did not work all that well. All right, if you are using Firefox, you are urged to immediately update and patch a 0-day hole, which is already being exploited in the wild by miscreants. And the Firefox 67.0.3 and ESR 60.7.1 bills include a patch for this vulnerability, which is a type confusion bug in the way Firefox handles JavaScript objects. So definitely keep this stuff patched up to date. Okay, let's take a phone call from Roger in Ohio. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, hello, Mike, a long-time listener. I was wondering, you're moving to Indiana, if you'll have a chance to go to Wright Pat, see the Air Force Museum down there.
Yes.
Okay, they also Ohio signed a contract with the F-35. You can Google it. It's on the Dayton Daily News.
Okay.
And they signed this big contract with the F-35s. And they expect it to go till 2024. And you're supposed to have spare parts and everything else. So a couple other interesting things you might want to see, the Miamisburg Mounds down there. And there's also was a facility where they had nuclear research down that area also.
Yep.
So that might be kind of interesting if you get a chance to visit that area. Where I live up close to Lake Erie. I hope you're not in northern Indiana, because last November we really had a cool November, and it's been
Roger,
not that bad of a winter.
Roger, I'm going to put you on hold. We got to take another break for our final commercial. I'm going to bring you back for the last segment of our show because I want to hear more about this.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at libertystickers.com. Again, that's libertystickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Last segment of our program today. We're still talking with Roger in Ohio, who is basically saying that there are things we're probably going to want to look at after we get settled in Indiana. And he's absolutely right. We've been on this rock here long enough to get island fever. And within the limits imposed by Claire's back injury, we're probably going to get out and about, because I love a good museum, especially an Air and Space Museum. And as far as which part of Indiana, we're going to be down in the south, very close to the border. But even so, this first winter is probably going to be very rough, because we've been here in Hawaii long enough to have acclimated to living in a tropical climate. I mean, if the temperature goes into the mid-70s here, Claire and I are both feeling like we're freezing. So we're going to have to get some extra warm clothing. Right now, we only have 2 warm jackets. Claire's is an old Stunts Unlimited jacket, and mine is a coat left over from Stargate. And so that's it. We're probably going to look very strange on the flight over there. So, Roger, anything else you want to add to that?
Well, if Indiana doesn't work out, I'm sure maybe Steve Elkins might be able to help you in Florida, which I think is probably closer to Hawaii weather than Indiana. And hey, here's what I did. I think you should move close to Jesse Ventura in Mexico. I think you'd be a great 1-2 punch down there.
Maybe, or we could do it over the night. I mean, the reason we're going to this part of Indiana is Claire has family there that includes 2 medical professionals. And I think I've mentioned this before. Last year, when Claire suffered her back fracture, it took 3 months before she could get into Straub and find out what was causing all the pain. And by that time, the vertebra had already started to fuse out of alignment. So I'm going to be a lot happier having, medical personnel as family who are going to make the effort to look at Claire the instant something happens. So that's a big part. Plus, of course, the family's been very generous in helping us get this move put together. So, yeah, it just makes sense we'd be there. And we're going to have lots of kids that we're going to be able to play with. And believe it or not, there's a little town that is called Santa Claus. People don't believe it. There's a town called Santa Claus, and they have one of the best small toy stores I've ever seen, because it's all educational and science stuff.
Well, you got a lot of friends in the States. I hope you can visit all your fan base that will have the door open for you, I'm sure, when you're traveling around. You're welcome here in Ohio anytime. You get it close to Cleveland, Ohio. I'd be more than glad to show you around and all the hot spots in the area and everything. Claire plays harp, though, doesn't she?
She plays keyboard and she plays harp, and yes, we are bringing the harp with us to Indiana. And yeah, one of the other reasons I wanted to get to sort of the middle of the country is because I do get asked to speak at conventions and symposia, but I've been unable to because of that terrible airfare coming out of Hawaii. Anyway, Roger, I got to let you go. There's the music. It's time for me to get on out of here. I got to do the Jim Goddard show. So stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please take what you learn here, share it with everybody that you know. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.